Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro, friends. On today's episode of the podcast, we are talking about embracing what you don't know. This is possibly the hardest thing to approach as not only a new business owner, but as a business owner in general. It does get easier. I will say that. And before we move forward, I just want to mention, please check out the show notes for links to support the rural fire service. The bushfires have flared up again in Australia, so they could really use your support. So, embracing what you don't know. This is a really interesting one. And the reason it's a really interesting one is because you don't know what you don't know. There are some things that you do know that you don't know. For example, if you're going into business for the first time, you might know that you don't know how to read a profit and loss statement. You may know that you don't know how to source green coffee. But the things that you don't know are the hidden things in amongst that. So for example, if you look at reading a profit and loss statement, sure, you don't know how to do that, but it will uncover things that you didn't know that you didn't know. An example of that is that you didn't know that managing cash flow was going to be an important part of running your business. I know that it sounds stupid to think that you might not know that you have to learn how to manage cash flow as a business. I've copped to this in yesterday's episode of this series that is specifically for people who are thinking of going into business in coffee for the first time. But I didn't know that cash flow management was a skill. I just thought it was a thing that you just figure out how to do. It will just happen, right? You've got money coming in, and you've got money that needs to go out, and you've got invoices coming in, and that money needs to go out as well. And as smart as I am, I didn't quite grasp the difficulty of the concept of managing and juggling all those balls at once. But I didn't know that I didn't know that, and I thought that it would be easy to get my head around it, and it wasn't by any stretch of the imagination for me. It's super easy for other people. But for me, that was something that I found difficult. Green sourcing is another example of, something that you do know that leads you to things that you don't know that you don't know. So people are thinking that, and I see this client after client after client with roasting clients. They think the idea of just buying spot coffee is you can just buy coffee, right? Yes, you can just buy spot coffee. But if you don't understand the mechanisms behind sourcing coffee and understanding how coffee is traded, understanding how to read a contract that green coffee is traded on, understanding the different mechanisms that you yourself can purchase coffee. If you didn't know that you didn't know that, well, what you end up doing is just buying spot coffee all the time. And for anyone who doesn't know, spot coffee is just coffee that you buy directly from green importers that they've got ready to go. The problem with buying spot coffee is that's typically more expensive, and it gives you a lot less options to curate the flavors and the coffees that you want to offer to your customers. So if you don't explore the things that you don't know, what ends up happening is that you're closing off the options of exploring your business possibilities. So if you don't learn the mechanisms behind green sourcing, you won't know that you can build direct relationships much easier today than you could before with coffee producers. And really start to curate the lots of coffee that you're selling very intentionally. And so unless you start embracing that there are going to be many things that you don't know, and that is not a terrible thing. Not knowing something depending on the frame of mind that you take when it comes to not knowing, is always an opportunity for you to explore something new and for you to perhaps tap into a whole new avenue of your business that you didn't know before. More importantly, what it gives you is the opportunity to explore different ways of thinking within yourself. And anyone who listens to this podcast knows that I'm a big fan of that. Continuing to open your mind constantly brings you opportunity to grow the opportunities within your business. And that's a fabulous thing. The closed-mindedness that you see a lot out there in business is what's causing many people to replicate what everyone has done before them. And folks, if you're looking at getting into business in the coffee industry anytime in this next decade, please go and read the blog on our website, mapperforward.org. It will give you some really interesting things to chew on and ponder about how you should approach that. But absolutely one thing that is important for you to know is that the coffee business is shifting, and what it's going to look like in 2030 is going to be very different than what it looks like now for a bunch of reasons. And if you want to build a business that's going to last across that landscape, thinking differently is going to be the way that you're going to survive. I just literally got off a conversation on the podcast with Kira Kennedy, the CEO of Baratza, who are in their 21st year of business, and they didn't last 21 years by staying, I guess, I want to use the word relevant. They weren't staying relevant. They were always staying ahead of relevant. They were always kind of keeping up with what people needed, but always being even a step ahead of that. And with the life cycle of business and ideas starting to churn over the way that they are, you're going to need to start thinking about embracing what you don't know and thinking differently than the way most of the industry is doing it. Here's another important thing about embracing what you don't know. When you're stuck in not embracing what you don't know, what you end up doing is having a business that's reactive. And having a business that's reactive means that you're never growing in a way that you need to be growing. What it means is that you are constantly trying to put out fires rather than having ideas and implementing them and being proactive to what that is. And being proactive to what you want to be doing is far more likely to lead you to success than being reactive and staying stuck in what you don't know. So given that, how do we move beyond what we don't know and embrace it and learn from it and grow from it and thrive from it? Because that's ultimately what we want to do, right? And I believe that conversations are really important when it comes to that. Something I also think is important in that is not only conversations, but technology and embracing the AI and the automation that's coming is going to be an important part to that. Kira and I just spoke about how Baratza is approaching that and how inevitable it is that automation is here in various forms already, whether it be through customer service or through manufacturing or whatever it is. Finding your version of that and what you're comfortable with and what the ratio of automation to humans is going to be important, and not being scared of that, not feeling like something is being taken away from you because you're stepping into automation. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And that leads me to the next part of the idea of embracing what you don't know. I often say to people, if you've got one foot in excited and the other foot in terrified, that's when you know that you're doing this entrepreneurial / business ownership thing correctly. And it's the gray that you're trying to navigate. And Kira spoke about that really eloquently in the podcast, that leadership is about navigating the gray. And what you don't know is that gray. If you knew it, you wouldn't be struggling with it. And so stepping into what you don't know is not only empowering, but it's freeing. And getting there quickly. Getting to that point before you start your business that, hey, I'm excited about what I don't know. I am excited about being taught by having conversations with other people, by embracing technology, by looking at the way that the world in coffee is operating and figuring out how I can do it differently, but relevantly, and staying open to the idea of change. Being in business can be really isolating, particularly in the coffee industry. Nobody prepares you for that. That was something that I should have mentioned in yesterday's mindset episode. It can be incredibly isolating, and the isolation brings with it its own set of I want to say the word traumas, but it depends on whether you're an introvert or extrovert, whether that's traumatic or not to you. However, having said all of that, I really hope that this series of 5 podcast episodes, from episode 71 to this one, 75, has been at least interesting, at most inspiring to anybody who is considering starting a business in the coffee industry in the next decade, or has just started a business in the coffee industry in this decade. And I hope that it gives you a lot to ponder. And I hope that it gives you hope about how capable you are of navigating what's coming. Most of us, well, pretty much everyone, actually, I want to say this differently. Every single person that starts a business for the first time is faking it until they make it, or they're making it up as they go along. I don't like the idea of faking till you make it. You definitely are making it up as you go along. I don't care how many degrees you've got or how many degrees you don't have. You are learning as you go. Becoming a business owner and an entrepreneur is a learnt skill. You can study for it, but studying for it doesn't prepare you for the emotional impact and the challenges that you're faced with. You can't study to learn to live with fear. You have to go through it. And so I really hope that this has been helpful for you if you are taking that journey. And I salute you if you are, because it is incredibly challenging, but so incredibly rewarding when you do it. And a testament to somebody who's done it for that long is somebody like Kira Kennedy. She's somebody who is a real example of how her and her business partner Kyle from Baratza have built a business that has not only stood the test of time, but has gone on to be an absolute leader in our industry when it comes to what they're offering. If you are thinking of starting your own business, put it in the comments below. Let us know what you're intending on doing so that we can all, as a community, support you and cheer you on, and tell us if there are any challenges that anyone could help you with. Also, if you have any words of wisdom that may be useful, that I haven't covered in these 5 episode series. Put them in the comments, things that you wish somebody had have told you before you started business. And let's hope that they are the words that will make the journey easier for the generation of business owners that are coming up in our industry. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.